Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be showing you a painting that I did in 1994. So that is going back, what is that, 30 years ago? My maths is working right. And this is one of my larger paintings. This is quite unusual paintings. This is actually a watercolour. For those of you who know watercolour paints, they tend to be kind of wishy-washy used on, I say wishy-washy, kind of used on flowers and scenes, stuff like that. Nothing wrong with that, absolutely fine. But it depends how you use them. Now, when I was quite young and started out, when I was young and started out, I didn't have much knowledge of paints really. So the only thing I used to use was watercolour. It's the only kind of paint that I kind of knew existed, apart from oils perhaps, but I couldn't afford those and hadn't gone on to that. So I was using watercolour. Now these watercolours, I'm not actually sure the maker, to be honest, but they were pretty bog standard watercolours I used to use. When I used to do a painting like this, every single layer on this would have at least 3 layers. So every area would have at least 3 layers of paint. And I did that for a couple of reasons, but the most important reason really was to ensure that it had a really nice solid kind of coverage, so it gave it a lot of depth. It didn't look kind of transparent. I really didn't want to get that kind of look on a painting, especially an abstract painting. So this was 1994. I got a feeling 1994 I'd probably just come back from America at that point, so I think some aspects of this painting kind of might have been influenced by that visit. I went to New York, and I think some of the elements, especially like down here, like this almost looks like an exaggerated long kind of building, like a skyscraper typey thing. And I'll put some close-ups as I go through here so you can take a closer look. But I'd also discovered recently kind of the ways to actually do blending. So again, I'll put some stills into the areas that I'm talking about. But this area particular here, I've used this, in fact I touched on it last week actually, use this dark brown to this light brown and the kind of orange behind this shape here. And then we've got the cones going through. Now the interesting thing on this painting is, and one of the most challenging things was to actually do the outlines in white. A lot of my work, and other people's actually, you'll outline in black to kind of give it a bit of a definition and make things stand out. I didn't want to do that with this because I had a lot of dark colours around here. If I did it in black, it would just disappear. So what I did here, and again I'll put a still in so you can just see this particular cone shape, I outlined in white. If you've ever outlined in white in watercolour, you know it's a bit of a challenge. And I used a very, very small brush. In those days I had a very steady hand and I could actually go over line over line over line, repeating in quite an accurate fashion. So it had quite a nice look. Plus the blending here, I'd started to let the greens come quite nice on that bit there. One of my favourite bits of this painting here, I don't know what you call it, I call it like the upturned lampshade, and again I'll show you close up of this. And on this particular bit, it literally looks like an upturned lampshade. Don't ask me what it is. I've got no idea at all. But it reminded me like a bit of a lampshade with a food mixer coming out the bottom of it. You know, where you have the different attachments to mix certain things. And you could like for dough or pastry or whatever, food mixes, whatever. And particularly some of these areas here. And it's a kind of a fun painting actually. There's lots of elements to this I quite like. This area here, I kind of tend to think of as like a piano. It reminds me like an upturned grand piano, and I guess you got like a bit of a spiral thing kind of coming down here. There's kind of elements of Art Deco in this. I'll just stand up and I'll just show this a bit closer if I can do this. See these bits down here, that it looks quite small, but that's quite an important intricate part of the actual painting, and there's a lot of colour and depth in that. And if I just whiz you around some of these as well, just whilst I'm holding it. Now this painting here has actually been in storage. This forms part of my kind of archive, I guess you could say, in that I don't do paintings like this anymore. For a couple of reasons really. One of the most kind of important reasons is when I painted these, and I've got a series of these that I did, I used to paint them flat on the table. I've always painted flat. And shortly after this, actually, I had a not very nice accident. Damaged my arm, I damaged my neck, more importantly, and damaged a vertebrae, which meant I cannot spend any length of time leaning over a table, i.e. painting. So really this put an end to this kind of scale of painting. And then this painting would take me something like 3 months to complete. something like that. So they're quite lengthy processes to do. I remember I was doing this after work each night, so I'll be working in the office and then coming back home. Luckily enough, I had a spare room when I was living at home, and just a kitchen table, and I could paint. So I spent every night painting. So something like this would take me about 3 months painting on and off each night. And yeah, I think it come out quite well. I mean, this collection of paintings that I've got, that I call them the watercolours, I think I've only ever shown them once. I think I used to have some of them framed. A lot of them are still framed at my mum's house, but I have got a selection I actually keep here, and I've actually got them in storage. I don't get them out that often because they are very delicate, being a watercolour. So this is just on paper. Now the paper is very thick, it's very high density paper, and I used to just go to the art shop where I lived at the time in Basingstoke and buy the biggest sheet of paper that I could find, and this was pretty much the biggest sheet of paper that I could get at the time. So I think it's probably about 1 metre. I'll put down the measurements on the video so you can have a look, see how big it is, but pretty much the biggest kind of size I could get. Now the funny thing is, while I was painting this, as you can see, and I'll kind of show you around the edges here, you can see I kind of masked it up just to hold the whole thing in kind of place. As I said, I was kind of starting out kind of quite inexperienced and didn't know how to kind of mask things up or get things in situ when I was actually painting them. So if I'd been clever, which I wasn't and still not, I could have kind of masked the whole lot right the way around to give it a nice border, but what I chose to do just hold it down with bits and bobs, and I've just used those same positions just to hold it in situ on this board. The board isn't great because it's got marks on it, but you get the idea. It's the only thing I had to mount it on just to show you. But it's quite an interesting painting. I think for a watercolour it's quite unusual. As I say, I would say probably about 12 this kind of size. This is one of the most detailed ones, and I used to spend a lot of time. There's a lot of detail on this. It's one of these things, if I stand here, you're probably not going to see it, and I'm sorry, it's not an ideal kind of ratio, this, but I had to kind of get the height in here. If I did it around the other way, it would just look kind of a bit messy. So I will take some snaps up and hopefully put those on. But it's all about the detail on this one. So, you know, you can see the outlines I've outlined here in red. Remember, I'm doing this freehand as well, so I've done this in red here. So these little bits around the piano kind of mark, they're detailed in red and yellow. We've got the purple. At the time, I remember being particularly proud of this particular bit here because I was kind of learning how to put like reflections and light on shapes, just trying to make them look a bit more 3D. Whether I succeeded or not, I don't know. But even when it comes to the signature, I'll try and show you that. It kind of made me laugh, really, in hindsight. Even the signature, I've kind of highlighted, done the angles in white. So I hope I'll put a snap of that if you can't see it. You will notice something interesting about the signature there, the spelling of my name. And that's something that changed. I'll just give you a little backstory to that, actually, the way I changed my name. Depending on who you are and when you've known me, you may know me as Vic with a K, V-I-K. My birth name is Victor with a C, Victor. But about this time I was doing an exhibition down in Poole in Dorset, and it was a very big show, actually. I had about 30 pieces up in this gallery, and two funny things, actually. I hired this place for about a month, and it wasn't cheap, and you got like a bit of package, a PR package, all the rest of it kind of thing. So it was quite a big deal. We sort of laid on a coach and people went along. It was on for about a month. And anyway, I remember on the day they said, oh yeah, we'd have the local newspaper down there, do a few photos or something. And I always remember that on the day, nobody turned up, you know, hardly surprising, these things happen. Nobody turned up at all, no newspaper, just to do a local blurb. That didn't happen at all. Apparently somebody's dog got run over on a zebra crossing, and that got the front page of the paper. So so that was the end of my chance of a bit of publicity. But the other thing was the exhibition was curated, excuse me, and they had a dedicated curator, and she came and did like an audio tour of the whole thing. And when I listened back to it, it's a very nice audio tour she did. There's a bit of blurb. I'm never a fan of those kind of things. Excuse me. And there was a book that went with it, like a little brochure. And when they did the brochure about each painting, talking about it all, and they spelt my name in the brochure, they spelled it with a K, V-I-K, Vic. And I thought, oh, that's a bit weird. And it was like the day before and all this stuff had been done. I think, oh God, what am I going to do now? And I suppose one of those things you kind of learn as you get older now. In hindsight, it's quite funny. At the time, I was really, really cross about it because I spelled my name wrong. But there's nothing I could do, so I just went with it. And it was Victor with a K. So, so I thought, I'd go with it. And a few people commented, oh, why you got Victor with a K? That's weird. And I just kind of stuck with it after that. And so around this period, I still signed paintings with my birth name. But after this, I changed the Victor to a K. So that's a kind of a timescale thing you can tell, and I kind of switched. And I just kind of stuck with it ever since. So there we go. So this is quite a large painting. Like I said, I put the sizes on the video, a bit of text there, and I'll put a few snaps as well so you can have a good look. So hope you enjoyed seeing that. I will show you some more of the large scale ones. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat and I can't get rid of it. If you want to give it a thumbs up, that'd be absolutely super. And if you like to have a look at the painting, and there's somebody looking through the window. Why is it whenever I do a video, it's always somebody looking through the window? And anyway, I shall see you in the next one very soon. You take care now. Bye bye.